My thoughts on the new Superman movie. Oh, brother, do I have a lot of them. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a part of a YouTube channel called the Respawn Rejects, and boy oh boy, do I have some exciting news for you if you like my content, because you most likely will like the Respawn Rejects and the other host on the Respawn Rejects, the GOAT, the man I've known since about 5 years old. Yeah, I would say five, sorry. Jacob. He has a new YouTube channel, so if you have seen the Respawn Rejects, if you're coming from there, if whatever, you'll know who he is. He is making videos similar to mine, but very different in very different ways. I share my experiences, he shares his experience, and he seems like a philosopher too now, which is awesome, bro, you know? He has his first video just came out at the time of this recording on last Saturday. So if you are like just crying, you're bawling your eyes out because you don't have enough I Only Banks content or you don't have enough Respawn Rejects, we just absolutely cured your depression by giving you a third channel to watch anything related to us on. So you'll make sure to go subscribe. I'm gonna leave it in the link description or whatever, comment, just look for it, bro. You're gonna want to watch his stuff. He's awesome. So yeah, back to Superman. This is definitely not a hot take, I don't think. Hopefully I don't think. So one thing that I have to say about the movie was that it's definitely gonna be a blockbuster hit. There's not even a question about that. The main reason why I have a big problem with this movie is because there hasn't been a good Superman movie since Man of Steel, if you've asked me. And to be honest, there hasn't been a Superman movie since Man of Steel, but I count Batman vs. Superman as a Superman movie as much as a Batman movie. But the main thing that I had the problem with in Superman was I felt like there was like nothing. It was just eating two buns without any meat. I felt like eating salad when you're like, traveling 15 miles in the desert begging for food. It's like, okay, I don't want a salad. I want a nice big steak with water or soda, whatever you want. You want to get that, I didn't get that itch scratched by the new Superman movie. I think James Gunn's a terrific director, but not for Superman. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. My favorite freaking Marvel movie of all time, right behind freaking Iron Man, bro. Don't play with me. Um, as a, I wouldn't say Superman hater, but I don't like him. He's definitely not my favorite DC superhero. Favorite DC superhero is Batman. And then behind that, maybe Green Lantern. I like Green, but not the movie. Green Lantern, the movie sucked. Don't even. Alright, back to the topic. What was I gonna say? Yeah, no. So, I don't like the fact that there is nothing. There's really nothing in the movie that really grabbed my attention. I guess the whole, spoilers ahead, by the way. The whole thing about Superman coming to terms with the fact that his parents kind of like sent him to Earth to destroy, the planet and conquer it. I feel like it's been done with Man of Steel before. I feel as if we're just getting a repeat, but almost in a different way. Whenever you get like a text message from someone and then your friend will tell them, oh yeah, no, they're coming around the corner, when in reality they said, yeah, I'm 20 minutes away. So it feels like a translation, but the main problem I had with this movie was the fact there's nothing in there. I don't feel like a single fight was memorable. Off the top of my head, I can't even remember who he was fighting in the beginning scenes of the movie. I'm gonna say it was Ultraman. Yeah, it was Ultraman. And man, oh man, was that a bloated fight. I felt like it just went on forever, even though it's supposed to last like what, only a couple minutes. Either way, the other problem I had with it was I felt like Crypto wasn't taken seriously in this movie. Like, he was just the baby Groot, if you would want to put it into Guardians of the Galaxy terms. He was the baby Groot, the Rocket Raccoon, the lovable thing that's gonna get kids to buy like plushies and crap. Definitely underutilized Lois Lane. She is definitely an underused character in this movie. She just kind of seems like the nagging girlfriend that doesn't really, strike a chord with me. When I watched The Man of Steel the other day to, prepare myself, I saw how Lois Lane was kind of like her own person, but at the same time, they barely touched the surface, so I don't really think there's been a good Lois Lane. The Christopher Reeves Superman, gosh, I'd have to rewatch that, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, she meets him before she finds out that he's Superman. In this new movie, I'm not sure if it's said or not, but I'm pretty sure she finds out before that he's Superman and then Clark Kent. I'm not too sure.
What's happened to the people here?
But in the Man of Steel, of course, we know that Lois meets, you know, Superman before she meets Clark Kent.
Gotta go. Talk later.
But yeah, no. So that's I would say part one of my problem. The second part is I feel like
Self out.
the Justice League sucked. Okay, more specifically Green Lantern. I loved what's the guy's name? Mind Flare, I think. Yeah, he was awesome. Definitely saved the movie for me. I just loved all of his like quick whips, you know, especially with the dog. You know, if he's bouncing off of the dog being a joke device, you know. I feel like the dog sometimes was a crutch, but it's okay. You know, it's a movie about superheroes. You're not gonna freaking get an in-depth, you know, whole ass analysis about why Crypto saved the movie. But the thing with Superman that I definitely did not like was the fact that he kind of seemed like he was so laid back. You know, this I get that was probably the direction they're going for, but I'm just used to Man of Steel being such a, you know, let's get straight down to business. You know, put his head down, and it becomes this hero. Well, Clark Kent is a stumbling, you know, kind of ditzy guy, you know, and that's supposed to be such a big contrast. One guy's kind of nervous to take his, you know, confidence, and like everything is like polar opposites. Superman's the guy who's confident. He knows what he's doing. He's gonna save the day. Where Clark Kent's supposed to be the shy guy who doesn't want to mess with anybody in the office. You know, that's the main thing. When I came to Superman, I just felt like he was a little bit too like, you know, making jokes. But at the same time, I think every single movie after Guardians of the Galaxy has tried to make them funny. You know what I mean? You get like Thor movies, okay? Love and Thunder was freaking trying to be a comedy. It was trying to be The Hangover when it should have just been like Thor Ragnarok, okay? I love Thor Ragnarok. It has jokes in it. It's pretty good. It lands well. But it's not trying to be the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know? Where I feel like this one doesn't try to be Guardians of the Galaxy, but it has a lot of hints in there, you know? One thing I love about the movie, though, is I gotta say this. I'll give it as much praise and props. They brought back the original theme song. They brought back the whole aesthetic of Superman. It is awesome. I love the old school Superman stuff, especially from Christopher Reeve's Superman adaptation. I kind of feel like this movie's gonna be forgotten about in a couple years. I don't know why. I got that feeling. Like, how many of you guys remember the 2006 Superman? If you don't even know what I'm talking about, go watch it, bro. I don't really remember who even is Superman. But there's only really big three players whenever you talk about Superman. It's, of course, Henry Cavill and Christopher Reeve. And now we got this new guy, so I don't know how long this guy will be in the DCU. And that's the other thing. I feel like they're not doing the approach that they should if they want to make the DCU. If they want to make the DCU like the MCU, take baby steps. You don't try to solve a puzzle inside of a box. You lay them out and individually start to sort them, you know? I feel like Iron Man 1 is a great example of setting up the MCU very, very, very clean, you know? Just testing the waters, tiptoeing, you know? But I feel like they're trying to jump into things, you know? We saw, you know, Peacemaker in the freaking TV. We saw Green Lantern, you know? And I was like, man, dude, they're falling into old habits, man. They're trying to make this the next MCU because MCU made so much money with Endgame. Everyone wants to be like, freaking Godzilla's gonna team up with freaking Mothra next. But, you know, it is what it is. You're not gonna be able to change, you know, big wigs' heads about, you know, making a good movie and then a Marvel Universe kind of deal. But other than that, I also feel like the movie's color grading, or like the color just seemed off. It seemed so dull. Superman's such a, you know, guy that brings the whole ass, you know, bright new world, savior of, like, you know, superhero. I don't know what I'm yapping about now, but you know what I mean. He seems like this, like, fully, like, you know, blue, red, all these colorful colors, and the movie felt so dull. It felt like I was watching a freaking car commercial, you know what I mean? Like, those dull colors. But I think it's a problem with most movies nowadays. The color's kind of gone. I don't feel like it's been washed out. I don't know. This movie definitely could have, you know, taken inspiration from Guardians of the Galaxy, which has super cool visuals. You have these beautiful space landscapes, and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you have this awesome forest, you know, and that beautiful freaking Ego or whatever, the place where Peter Quill's dad, Star-Lord's dad, is Chris Pratt. Yeah, his dad is what is his name? Kurt Russell. That was awesome. James Gunn knows how to make good, authentic feeling environments, but I just don't think he landed it with this one. Another thing I did not like about this Superman, and this is gonna probably hurt a lot of people, especially the old school fans. I don't like the suit. I get that he's supposed to be more approachable with the underwear and stuff, but I just do not like it. You know, I like Christopher Reeve's suit. I know this is a return to form, and you'd be like, what the hell, dude? They're the same suit. No, I don't know. I just don't like this one. It doesn't look, as Superman in my head is. I obviously grew up watching Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Justice League, so I've seen him my entire life being Henry Cavill in this really tight, built-up suit with no underwear. Obviously I mean, like, outside. Jesus Christ, why'd I say it like that? I definitely don't think that this suit was my personal pick for best Superman suit. I did like what they did with Lex Luthor. He definitely reminds me more of what he is in the comic books, as he's the type of person to if he doesn't want to get his hands dirty, and he's probably scared to too. He kind of struck me as the guy that's like, oh yeah, this is Lex Luthor. This is the guy who's gonna go find everyone possibly able to beat up Superman so he doesn't have to do it himself. But he's always pissed off and always talking the biggest crap. He's kind of like the little guy in your friend group that talks all the crap, and you gotta hold him back because he's gonna get his ass beat. So yeah, no, that's my thoughts on the Superman movie. Not a very good glimmering review. I would say it's gonna be a blockbuster hit just because of the fact that Superman. I would not say it's a horrible movie, but neither would I say it's gonna be revolutionary. It's just like, a good movie. And the reason why I have such big expectations for DC superhero movies is because of freaking Christian Bale's Batman, bro. If you don't like The Dark Knight, dude, something's wrong with you mentally. Okay, get that checked out. That's about it. See ya.